What's up YouTube? This is Aim for Survival, and today we're going to do a review of the Trailblazer Survival Kit. By now it's no surprise that Aim for Survival enjoys the SHTF mystery box. Now 1 month we did receive the Trailblazer Survival Kit. This is a pocket size kit. Wow, it fits in the pocket. Now you must be careful anytime you trust your life to a piece of gear like this. However, this has several pieces of kit that I do appreciate and that I do want to use in the field. Let's go ahead and go to the table and show what it has. Looking at the outside, this is a very small container. It is smaller than my hand and fits in the pocket very well. It's held together with 4 external clips. It does have a lanyard hole, however there is no lanyard included. Okay, so let's go ahead and crack this open. Like I said, it is a very small case. There are 4 external clips to hold it sealed. It is advertised as a waterproof case. Looking at that, it does have a rubber gasket here. You want to make sure none of the items go past the exterior of the package, or else it will lose its waterproofing qualities. Now looking here, first piece of paper we find is an accidental evaluation report. Now this could help assist somebody in understanding the injuries that you have sustained. However, in my experience, medical personnel will not be looking on your person for a piece of paper to make it easy on them. If, for instance, you got wet or are bleeding, this piece of paper could be compromised. It would be nice, oh yes, to have it in here, but they will not be looking for something like this. Next, however, something I believe is much more important, especially if you're new to the survival game. This is survival instructions. While it is not perfect, there's a lot of very useful information on this pamphlet. Everything from Morse code to shelter building, solar steel construction, trap making, star mapping, shadow stick making. There are several key topics on this, especially information on dehydration. You will find some humorous information there if you take a closer look. Moving on though, one of the first things we see is what I was taught to call a ranger saw. This is a small piece of kit. Most people want to grab the rings themselves with their hands and just start sawing on a piece of wood. This, however, is the inappropriate manner to use this tool. It will break, it will bend and twist under tension, and the metal will snap. We will show you how to use one of these properly one of these days. Next, we see a 2-pack of cotton balls. This here is just plain cotton balls. It's not the original ones that came in the kit. However, they are useful as they stand. Sticking out like a sore thumb, we found us a whistle. Now for signaling rescue, these are very useful. This one is very loud. Next, in no particular order, we do find a razor blade. It is masked in cardboard. However, this can serve as an immediate cutting implement for several uses, and in an emergency first aid situation can be used as a scalpel. Go ahead and let you know that you will need to sterilize this before you use it in an emergency first aid situation. Next, we do find an emergency tea-light style candle. Now, closer inspection, I don't know if you can see it, but there are sparkly dots inside this, shiny reflective particles that make me think that this is probably a longer lasting tea-light candle. I do see a small fishing kit. From here I can see small hooks, leaders, and fishing line. Do not know how much fishing line this is, but some is better than none. Fishing kit can serve for so many purposes in survival, not just acquiring food, which is very, very important. The fishing line itself can be used in shelter construction and suturing. Again, go back to the razor blade. If you are in a first aid situation, you may need to tie yourself up. I suggest you seek medical professional teaching before ever attempting this. Next, what I was happy to see is copper wire, brass, copper wire, whichever. This is very useful in snare making. This is a very strong shelter building implement. I do see a pencil. This here can be useful on the paper for filling out the accidental damage report, we'll call it. However, a marker may have been better. Next, I see a button compass. These are very useful. Now, unless you're traveling over long distance, when you start a trip, you should check your compass. Figure out which direction you're heading. If you're heading west, then you know your car is east. And if, in modern situations, you get lost, you can head east and find the road that your car was parked on. I do see a ferro rod in here. This is a very small plastic handled ferro rod. In my experience, these handles do come off, but there is a lanyard hole on this ferro rod, so attaching it to your neck would definitely be a priority in my experience. You do not want to lose such a little piece of fire making material. This, along with the cotton balls, can go a long way in fire starting. Sitting at the bottom of the kit, I do see a small sewing kit. It has 2 buttons, 4 different color threads, also useful in suturing, but in gear repair, it is phenomenal. You cannot imagine how hard it is to take care of your shoes or your pack or your tent if you don't have a small sewing kit. At the bottom, I find a signaling mirror. It is plastic and bendable, and for signaling, we all know I love a signal mirror. This is one of the oldest and most fail-proof systems of communicating over distance. With just a little light, you capture the sun and shine it on your target, and over miles, your target can see the reflective light. In a search and rescue situation, this is an important piece of kit. Now, I was a little iffy at first, just seeing the ferro rod and cotton balls. Now, I myself, I'm very good with ferro rods and cotton ball. However, sometimes things don't work out. Instant flame. I would prefer a lighter, but in this case, we do have a book of matches. On further inspection, these are not paper matches. These are wooden stick matches. Why does that matter? With paper match, you have only so much burn time. With wooden matches, you can actually make a small fire lay using multiple matches and have a very hot ignition source. Okay, everyone, this is a very basic but very effective survival kit. With a little bit of practice, this survival kit can go a long way. I do see fire making implements, a couple signaling implements. I do have a trapping and shelter building resource. I do have a sustainable fire method. Now, along with the matches and this, you can have a fire going for at least 6 or 7 minutes, and that's all you really need to get tough tinder to ignite. You do have a fishing kit and a sewing kit. Both are useful in acquiring food and first aid. You do have a pencil. Now, there are several downsides to this pencil here, especially considering it doesn't have an eraser. I love to make mistakes, as you just heard. However, if you did need to communicate while unconscious, you can use your damage assessment report to help people understand what's wrong with you. Last but not least, you do have your ranger saw. This will come in handy, especially in shelter building. However, However, there are a few different ways to use this that are a little less than mainstream. We will talk about that in another video one day. The key points that I have to point out is your button compass, which is a forgotten favorite of mine. Not forgotten by me, but forgotten by other people. General direction in the modern world is very important. No matter what direction you travel in my area, you will find a road eventually. It might take a day or two, but as long as you're not going in the wrong direction, you will be okay. Check your compass early and check it often. As far as shelter building goes, you do have the copper wire, which also assists in snare making, and you do have the Ranger saw. This is more than enough to trim out a couple branches and tie up a ridge line, make a debris shelter. A sewing kit in case your gear gets ripped on the way to do so. Several pieces of fire making. A couple pieces of signaling. And I don't know about you, but everybody likes to go fishing. It's a great source of food if you can find a river that actually has fish in it, or a lake. You can knock out a couple meals with just a little bit of practice. You will have to dig worms with this kit, as I do not see any bait. But with a little bit of practice, before trying to use something like this, you will do well. And a cutting tool, a very, very simple cutting tool. This right here is kind of dangerous as it is. However, it is better than nothing. Okay everyone, we're not going to upsell this product and try to make it seem like more than it is. It is only the basics. You have some implements to help you build shelter, several implements to help you build fire. Between the two, you've covered shelter, signaling, disinfection, and cooking. It has a fishing kit and snare wire. Food will not be a problem with a lot of practice. I'm not going to lie, it's going to take a lot of practice to use this minimal kit to put food in your belly. However, there are several ways to signal in this kit, especially if you get creative. There's a lot of information in the pamphlet. There's a lot of ways to reconsider your health and situation in this pamphlet. We're going to go ahead and recap real fast what we have. We have a accidental evaluation report. This may or may not help medical professionals assist you, especially if you become unconscious later in your situation. Next, you have a very useful, very informative pamphlet that gives you all kinds of information on how to build shelter, how to collect purified water, how to signal, how to transfer information. You will have to look at this to understand its value. There are some things that I personally did learn from this, some that I thought were even funny and scary. However, it may be true. You'll have to do your own research. Moving on to the physical implements, this is where your experience will help. First, we do have some brass snare wire. Very useful in trapping, shelter building. We do have a razor blade. This will be your limited cutting tool. However, some's better than none, and it may help in a medical situation if you sought training to use it properly. We do have a fishing kit. This right here can put food in your belly. Can't go wrong with a fishing kit. Even a small one will come in handy, even if you're just catching small fish. You probably will never catch a big trophy bass with it, but that's okay, guys. You're just talking about food for your belly. We do have fire making implements, and several of them. We have a ferro rod, we have a book of matches, we do have a candle, and we have cotton tinder. There's nothing more that you really, really need. Practice, guys. Practice, and this kit will be very useful. We do have a small button compass. This button compass in general direction finding will be a lifesaver. Can't express it enough. Check it when you first get out of your car, and you'll know which direction to find the road that leads to your car. It might not be simple. It might not take 2 hours. It might take a day or two. However, you will find a road eventually, and help will be on its way. Next, we do have a pencil. I'm not very happy with a pencil in a survival situation. And let me go ahead and discuss why. We'll go into it in another video later on. However, a pencil can only write on paper. A marker would have been better. A marker can be written onto your skin, or onto a wall, or onto the dirt. It can be written anywhere that accepts ink. sometimes even on metal if you got the right marker. But for this situation, the pencil will be useful on the paper that's provided. We do have signaling options, and while saying that, you do have a mirror and a whistle. So you have a visual form of communication and an audible form of communication. There are limitations to both. In deep woods, the whistle may not travel over distance. It will dissipate amongst the trees and the leaves. The signal mirror will be limited to the direction of the sun. If rescue is coming from the opposite direction, you're going to have to get creative if it's possible at all. You will have to be facing a southerly direction to use the sun for signaling. However, some's better than none. It is what it is. Last but not least, you have a ranger saw. Now this piece of gear is very underestimated. There's a reason they call it a ranger saw, special forces saw. I've heard them called many things now. They are very flimsy and easy to break. This particular one does seem a little more robust than your cheapest ones. However, using it with your hands is the wrong way to use this. You really need to attach it to a stick. Do some research, you'll know what I'm talking about. You'll get the most use out of this piece of equipment. Now, its primary function in my eyes is accredited to its ability to make notches. Your cabin notch, your V notches, all your other notches, because you're going to need a very precise cut, a very directionalized cut, and that razor blade can help you clean it up. However, that razor blade by itself will not do the trick. This saw will be helpful in trap making and in shelter building and in firewood collection. However, look for deadfall. Do not look for things that are stuck to the tree. This kit is very small. This kit is very lightweight. Over time, you're going to understand that you do not want to carry 5-pound bricks in your backpack. You're not going to want to carry a bunch in your pockets, especially if you're starting to talk about water, bigger cutting implements, shelter building resources, tarps, tents, etc. You're going to want to cut your weight down. This is an option. Now, this is a survival kit. It can be implemented in camping. There are better situations and better tools to use it in. However, as an EDC, I definitely recommend it. As a backup, I definitely recommend it. As a skill building kit, I cannot explain how much I appreciate this small piece of gear. However, don't forget, you're the difference between your survival. It's your responsibility to learn what you can ahead of time. That way, in a bad situation, these small pieces of gear can stand out. They can be the difference. Until next time, everybody, if you haven't already, I hope you have liked this video. Hope you comment down below. And if you haven't already, subscribe. Until next time, everyone, stay safe.